The censorship is very real, and this was brought to my attention by my fellow colleagues in Chicago Corner, by Jerry Vassilatos and E. Heller. And, you know, I've said before that a lot of smaller channels are being hit hard by YouTube. A lot of channels are being suppressed, blacklisted, shadow banned, and no one's safe. Everyone's being put on the chopping block. And it looks like Breaking Points is the next person to be hit by this, or the next channel to be hit by this. So let's pull up this tweet right here. Now, this is from the Breaking Points community, but there's also a retweet from Kyle Kulinski as well. So let's first read this. YouTube has added a warning to this video, presumably because of including the drone footage. Unfortunately, we are only left speculating why videos get demonetized or algorithmically suppressed, given these monopolies have complete control over the dissemination of information. And if we can, I would like to pull up Kyle Kulinski's tweet, if we can click on that real quick. Hey, YouTube creators, why is talking about the First Amendment and a free press as it pertains to Julian Assange inappropriate or offensive? And I'd like to actually play that video if we can, just like, let's go ahead. It's only going to be 12 seconds. It'll be repeating itself, but I think it's important for our viewers to see what's happening. So there's a lot of warning information that's being shown here.
Crystal, what are you taking a look at?
Well.
Okay, so let's pause it here. Now, Faze, I would like for you to pull up some of those images that's relating to the story as well, because some of our viewers may not have seen, you know, what those warning images were. But it's really concerning that we're at this point. So let's pull up this first image, if we can zoom in on it. The following content has been identified by the YouTube community as inappropriate or offensive to some audiences. If we can zoom in on this one now. This content may be inappropriate for some users. Let's scroll in underneath there. So YouTube has severely restricted the viewership of this video and they have demonetized it, but we are appealing the decision because we believe in reporting the news even when it's uncomfortable. Now, here's my thing to YouTube and to a lot of other social media platforms. We're adults. If there's something we don't want to watch, then we're not going to watch it. But we don't want to have any kind of any person coming into our lives in our own privacy telling us what we can and cannot watch. I can make that decision, as can all of you make any decision of what you want to watch. Censorship is never the answer. And we talked about this on yesterday's show with Lainey Peterson and Daniel Upker. Free speech is fundamentally important to our democracy. If our democracy is to thrive, we need to have the exchange of free ideas. Censorship is never the answer. Censorship and deplatforming content creators is never the answer, because what you're going to do is you're going to create an environment where there's going to be nothing but echo chambers. Now, I can't think of anything that Breaking Points has said or done that would cause them to have their video demonetized or being suppressed. It shouldn't happen in the first place, and I'm against it. Crystal and Sagar have done some phenomenal work, but they're not the only ones who have been hit hard by the YouTube suppression. A lot of independent media networks have been hit hard, but now it's also hitting other content creators. If we're going to have this free democracy, these big tech platforms need to end their control, and we need to break these monopolies up. But sadly, they are protected by special interests. And of course, they also are protected by a lot of these politicians now too. Because after January 6th, there was a super fast rush to call for the removal of Donald Trump and anyone that supported him. But what that also left open was the fact that other progressives and independents were hit hard by the suppression as well. You know, when we do this show, we have to be very careful what we say. We have to be careful how we title the show. We have to be very careful how we're going to do thumbnails and everything else. Because Hard Lens Media has been hit twice. And the only thing that got us through it wasn't, you know, begging or pleading YouTube or some politician. It was the people that got us through it. And thankfully, we got out of that not once, but twice. But no one should go through something like this. And the fact that Breaking Points, which is a larger YouTube channel, is being hit hard should concern all of you. That's why I say in the beginning of every show, be sure to subscribe to us on Rockfin and Odyssey, because we could be snapped out of existence like that. Also on top of that too, if this is how YouTube is going to start treating its content creators, then it is imperative that we look at other alternative platforms. if we're going to fight for that better future, we need to make sure that independent media stays alive. I am really concerned about what this says about the future of a real free press in this country and what's going to happen to whistleblowers or anyone else that stands up against the establishment. The censorship is very real, and I don't care how many subscribers you have or how big a channel you might have. You're all on the chopping block, and we got to get through this thing together. Maybe someday YouTube will change its policies, but after seeing this and covering this story, I am concerned about what happens or what will happen as the years continue on down, especially as we get into the midterm election cycle and the 2024 presidential election cycle. These are some dangerous times, very, very troubling times. I want to remind everyone that this is happening right now under a Democratic administration that supposedly, in theory, cares about free speech. The evidence is very clear before all of us, is that it looks like we're going to be entering into an election cycle, especially in 2024, where there's going to be different platforms, but all of them are going to be echo chambers. There won't be a free exchange of ideas, and that's dangerous for a democracy. You have to have, you're going to run into people that are going to have different opinions than yours, but we have to have open dialogue. If we don't, all of this falls apart.